How you doing, y'all? Welcome to Confidence. Oh boy. Oh, you know, I'm having a feeling. I'm having lots of feelings today, and I'm going to share them with you. So, a little preface to this story. I've been working with this new coach. Fantastic, by the way. I've really enjoyed this experience. And honestly, I've learned so much in such a short period of time. Like, I'm honestly very grateful. It's definitely been very helpful to reflect back a lot of the things that I'm doing and the behaviors that I have and learning more about myself. I've learned a lot about my avoidance. I've learned a lot about, vulnerability and being honest with people about just my true self. I've recognized my ways that I've been people pleasing a lot. And something that I've been able to help with my coachees a lot too. So it's been great. It's been a great trickle down effect. I'm honestly wondering where to even start with all of it because it does just feel a little bit overwhelming and a lot, what I've been experiencing. Now, let's just say this. A lot has changed for me internally, and maybe not necessarily in the things that I desire, but in the understanding more of myself and the understanding of what it is that I want and learning how to communicate those things better. So I'll give you an example. Something that I've been working on in my life is really understanding the motivations behind the reasons that I do things. And I don't think that I was very aware of some of those inner motivations that I had, especially in some of these previous relationships. And I think one of the biggest things I've learned about, myself and just like this work that I'm helping people with and also getting help with myself is learning to expose your true self and understanding your true self and understanding how a lot of the things that we do as people is honestly not usually from a place of confidence. It's really more from a place of fear. And I think that's like the big thing that I'm really helping a lot of my coachees with and even myself with is understanding our attachments, is understanding the things that are controlling us, which are our attachments, right? Because we all think that something outside of us is going to make us happy. And learning to break those down. So, last week I talked about how I was going through this separation and, how I was almost looking at this relationship and being like, oh, it's not enough, something's missing, whatever it might be. Here's the thing. I recognize that I'm allowed to have that feeling and that opinion. And the thing is, my feelings have been telling me this for a very long time, but what was happening is the guilt that I had towards this person and towards this person's feelings, feeling responsible for the way that she felt, kept me from my truth, kept me from telling this person what it really was and leaning into that. Think about this. We've talked about on this podcast a few different times over the last, I would say few weeks to months about how I was feeling this type of way inside. And then I was communicating and then I'm like, is it my avoidance? I don't know. And what I realized is I don't have a lot of self-trust. It's crazy. That's what I'm trying to say. There's so many things. And what I understood was why I was really trying to get to the answer of why did I not feel so deserving? Why do I not feel like I deserve the things that I want? And what we came down to, and also why do I feel so guilty about things? And I went down and I sat with it for a little bit and I realized that I don't really have this level of self-trust. Anytime I make a decision in my life, I second guess myself and I overthink. And then I overthink myself into potentially going back to this person or doing something that I didn't really want to do. And when I sat with it, so for me personally, and maybe you guys can relate to this, but for me personally, where I got this from is I had kind of a very controlling mom and she constantly questions my decisions. And when I didn't do something that she wanted me to do, she would just punish me. So really, she was so punishing and controlling, right? If I wasn't doing it the way that she wanted me to do it or not doing it, again, I think about my career when I first started, she was so upset when I was telling her that I was wanting to do TikTok that she wanted me to do corporate because that's what she does. And she wants me to play it safe. And that's what I've realized about her in general is my mom is super risk averse. If I present a risk to her, she just shuts it down and says no. The type to penny pinch, the type to, coupon everything, and not a bad thing. I'm not saying that part is bad, but it's just the fact that I wasn't allowed to admit and be my own person because every single time I was my own person, I was questioned or I was shut down. And what happens is then you build up this lack of self-trust. And because I was like the referee of my family, I'm like the peacekeeper, right? Like my mom's fucking yelling and fighting with my brother. So I have to go in and calm them down and be like, again, the referee or the coach or the person that sits there in the middle and tells everybody to chill the fuck out. But what you realize is that you end up being a person that becomes kind of a pleaser. I end up, for me personally, right? It's like I end up feeling so guilty when I make a choice for myself, because that's what it was. And you end up not having a lot of self-trust. So that's what happens is when I make a decision for myself, recognizing that there's feelings that I have, and then this person turns around and is crying or telling me that it's my avoidance and she doesn't know, whatever. My problem is that guilt was so strong that I would lay over. I'd be like, oh man, maybe she's right. Maybe I just need to give this more time. Maybe I just need to do more, right? And what I realized is as an avoidant person, I've been so disconnected from my own feelings. That's what avoidance is. That's honestly being an avoidant. And my coach was telling me about this too, is that being an avoidant is harder to heal than being an anxious person, because an avoidant person is super, super disconnected from their own emotions. And I understand that now. Right? It's like, I'm not really in tune and in touch with what I feel. And that's why it's so hot and cold with me, is because you know what it is I get pushed around by external validation, by fear. Fear has been controlling me a lot in these relationships. When I sat there, right? I mean, there's been times over the last week or so that I've been missing this person. And one question I was asked was why do you miss this person? And the root reason was I got down to probably companionship, probably the way that this person supported me, the friendship. And when you take those things even deeper, I started to recognize, is this really about how great this person is to me? Or is this more me recognizing that she's just filling this gap for the fear that I feel about myself, for the fear of being alone? And what happens is then when I lose that source, and I've done this with some of the other girls in my past, and I realize this, I'm like, holy fuck. When I start to not feel good about myself, it's like I'm not validating Chris. I'm not validating me. We talked about the lack of self-trust. And so what happens is that person is almost like a symbol for my validation. It's almost like my relationships give me the confidence to be myself. I'm not giving it to myself. I have no self-trust. And then I constantly feel responsible for your feelings. So you add that on top of it, the guilt and the responsibility that I feel towards you, me not being grounded within myself. What happens? Hot and cold. But it doesn't actually ever last, because my inner feelings eventually truly come out, right? What are my inner feelings telling me for real? My inner feelings are telling me, hey, I like this person as a companion, but I don't want to be in a relationship with this person. I do want something different for myself, and my body is telling me that. And the hard part is I'm not trusting that. I'm not trusting that. And you know why too? It's very hard to communicate that. And what's crazy is this past week, obviously, she's popped back in and out since the breakup. You guys know how that goes, right? And I had to be vulnerable with myself. I asked myself, how am I feeling when I'm around this person? What is truly my motivation for being around this person? And I took it even deeper. And I recognized again, it's it was companionship. It's sex. I was like, if this person wasn't going to have sex with me, I don't know if I'd want to be around them today. And again, that's not to say that she's only worth that. That was just how I was feeling in that moment. But what that signaled to me is that my inner feelings are telling me that I don't view this person as somebody that I want to be in a relationship with. And it's very hard to tell somebody that cares about you a lot, that has a giant attachment, that information. Because what? You feel guilty. I feel fucking responsible for her feelings, right? I think I was saying on the last podcast how all I want is for her to be happy. But the truth is I'm denying myself my own happiness by that. If I'm not being vulnerable and honest about the way that I feel, first off, neither of us are going to be successful. Neither of us are going to find what we're looking for. And my work is not to fix her. My work is to understand myself, understand my true motivation, and communicate that honestly and vulnerably to that person, despite how hard that is. And again, this is what I'm telling you about the growth that I feel like I've had over the last week and a half. It's like, stop allowing guilt to beat me. I am not responsible for other people's feelings. I am responsible for honesty and vulnerability, and that is it. Right? I make it very clear on my intentions, my motivations, and how they take it is up to them. Like, if she just wanted to be my companion, that we hung out and we slept with each other, cool. Because I'm communicating exactly what I want from this situation. And again, this isn't me communicating her value, right? She owns her value. I do not. That's not my responsibility. My responsibility, again, is to just give her that truth. But again, I think that's what has happened, and the reason that I've had a lot of these hot and cold, wishy-washy relationships is because I'm constantly being driven by guilt. I constantly feel so responsible for everybody's feelings. I'm disconnected from the way that I feel. So you put that into a concoction, right, where this girl's crying and I don't have any self-trust in my own decisions, my own emotions. That's where you get the hot and cold friction. And that's why you have relationships that are prolonged. You know, I even told her on the phone, I was like, if I was more connected to myself earlier on and I trusted myself earlier on, yeah, I probably don't think it would have got this far, to be honest. That's the truth. That is the truth. Because I would have been connected to myself and said, okay, no, this is what I'm feeling, and I'm responsible to me first. And again, my responsibility is to tell her the truth, which I think I was trying to do for weeks. But again, I wasn't being grounded. And a lot of the truth is, and here's the other massive thing that I've realized about myself, and it's like sad, but it's fucking true. And maybe you guys can relate to this. I mean, I know you can. But like, I've recognized how much of my life has been driven by external validation. And to be honest, like, if I'm going to admit something, I feel like this is true, is like, in a lot of ways, unintentionally, I have been very narcissistic in a lot of my relationships. Genuinely. Because I've always looked how people can love me versus looking at how can I love people. And I've been emitting energy in the wrong direction. And you know what I'm saying? I'm so quick to plant a seed and look at somebody's flaws and, you know, just nitpick on how they're not good enough for me. When in reality, it's like, if I feel some type of way and I feel those things, that needs to be communicated. And I can't keep people in limbo. And again, I didn't know what I didn't know. You know what I'm saying? This is why you do work like this and you get help. It's because you got to recognize these things. And that's what I'm trying to say. It's the reason I haven't even been successful in the things that I've wanted. One huge thing I'm realizing too is that, you know, we were talking about my inner motivation of what I really want the most in my life. And I talked to her about, my coach, about wanting to be an entertainer. If I had really one goal of my life, it's to be an internet personality. And it's crazy because I've prioritized everything else besides that in a way, right? The amount of business hours that I have for my coaching clients and the podcast. And I've realized that I've gotten away from my core. I've gotten away from my true core of what I want. And that's why this isn't necessarily sustainable. And I'm not talking about like coaching being sustainable for me, but my life that I'm living. The reason I don't feel good is because I'm not living in true alignment with myself. You know, the truth is really freedom. It really is, right? Me telling this girl how I genuinely felt is freeing because now I can do what I want to do. And I don't feel that guilt because I was honest. And again, it's about self-honesty first. And I think that's what, again, the big thing for me, and I'm realizing too, is like, I got to get really in tune and in touch with myself. I got to get vulnerable with me first. And that's why I have to accept myself and love myself despite the mistakes I've made, despite maybe showing up in relationships in a way that it was almost unattainable because I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know that I was showing up this way. I didn't realize that as an avoidant person, like something that I'll do too, I didn't even realize is like, you'll plant seeds in your mind about how somebody might not be good enough right from the jump. And it's crazy because I know this to some degree. right? Like I'll meet somebody and it's like, you're already kind of like looking for like little reasons as to like why it might not work out. And what happens is you keep dating this person and you keep dating this person and those beliefs just grow. I haven't been coming to relationships with like an open mind in the sense of like just letting me experience that person in front of me and seeing how I feel from there. Now, if I experience that person openly and I do start to feel things that I don't feel are in alignment with me, it's up to me to feel them and communicate them. That's it. But what ends up happening is I put these little thoughts in my mind. I date this person. I'm like, yes, this person is great. And then I'm feeling good about it. But then I'm also like, wait a minute, but I also have this other feeling or this other thought that I thought, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I didn't know if that one thing that she does with her hair, I don't really know about that. I don't know. It's never been like that. But it's definitely more been like, oh man, sometimes I make a joke and, she takes it the wrong way. So this can't work. You know what I mean? I'm like, that's a very valid one that I have a lot where I'm like, oh, she had this type of reaction. Then, oh, I don't know about this girl. Instead of giving somebody an open-minded chance and understanding that they're human and they're going to be imperfect at times. And here's the thing. It doesn't mean that I just automatically am going to date anybody just because. That's not what it is. It's learning to have an open mind and, pursue somebody with a little bit more openness of experience. And what I mean by that is like when I meet somebody, instead of having these preconceived notions of who they are or what they are to me, is just fucking hang out with them and talk to them and see how I feel. Stop making up in my mind, oh, what if she's a little older? Like, I don't really know about, it's like, stop that inner chatter. Cut that out, right? If I'm going to connect with somebody deeply, I have to be present. I have to be in the moment with them. And like I said, I can be very disconnected from myself as an avoidant person. You avoid your own feelings. So just a few things that I feel like I'm like learning about myself. But, even back to what we were talking about, my inner motivations and like the coaching, to be honest, coaching is a part of my life, but to be real, what I really want is to be that internet personality. And it's funny for a lot of people, it's like, we know what it is that we want the most in our life, but we have settled for things that are just more safe. The coaching has brought me a lot of great things in my life, 100%. It's the reason I could sit here and have an income and survive the way that I do. It can't just overnight just like be like, I'm not being a coach anymore, because that's also not really what I want. But at the same time, it's like, I just want to be me and I want to be loved for me, but I can't be loved for me if I don't love me. If I don't emit that energy, if I'm not honest with people. But it's very hard to be honest with people if you don't even know what you really want. That's what I'm trying to say, is that like, what I've also realized is that a lot of our fear drives us. And we've talked about this on an older podcast, but the thing that I want the most in my life is to be an internet personality, which means that I want to be the most authentic, vulnerable, honest version of myself on the planet. That's what I want. And I want people to connect with me with that version. But what's fucking crazy is that this entire time up until like this point of my life, I've realized that like external validation has driven a lot of that. And the reason that is, and the reason I know that, is because I recognized a lot of my fears. Because the thing is, if fear is controlling you, you're not coming to it from a place of love and vulnerability. There's no way those two things can coexist at the same time. And for instance, it's like the reason that maybe that girl was around longer than maybe she should have been is what? I fear losing this safety net in a way. And I'm not thinking about this consciously. It's an unconscious thing that happens. So again, don't blame me, and also don't blame yourself for being like this, because it's very eye-opening when you start to see it in real time. But because I have that fear of losing that person, right? What happens? My validation comes from not losing that person. But inadvertently, what happens? I block what it is that I genuinely want underneath. I know that I want something different than this person, right? Now, if I had the confidence, right, what would happen? Confident Chris, or hey, confidence Chris would turn around and say, listen, I'm not going to let the fear of losing this person stop me from receiving what it is that I genuinely want. And the kicker behind that is that fear never lasts, right? Right. Me going back to her for that fear, what happens? I run back out of fear of loss, not because I view that person as my person. It's because I'm scared to lose what I already have. I'm scared to, trust in what it is that I want. I have the fear of abandonment. I have the fear of being alone. I have the fear of it getting uncomfortable, right? Starting over with a new person, losing my companionship, losing the support that I had from the person. But again, I block the thing that's really meaningful to me or that I truly want. And again, that eventually comes out, right? Because what happens? I get her back on the hook, or we keep talking again, or because she's also involved, right? She also has fear. She has fear of me rejecting her and abandoning her as well. And that's why we're teaming up in this relationship, is because we have two people that are really looking for the validation from each other. We're not getting it internally. Because if she got it internally, right? The moment I told her that I don't know if I see this with her, she'd hang up the phone and she wouldn't call me again. And maybe she would if she had something to say, whatever. It's not like a, forever thing. But you understand what I'm saying? If she didn't have a fear of abandonment and she had high self-worth, she would say, okay, you're not choosing me. I'm good. I got to go. And from my end, if I had the proper self-worth, what happens? Okay, I believe that I know what I'm looking for. I can trust myself, right? And I respect and love my desires, and I'm true with my desires. I share that with her. Hey, you're a really lovely person, but this isn't the right relationship for me. It's not really exactly what I'm looking for. And it's interesting because, again, the truth of your situation is going to come out. That's why I said I went back out of fear, right? And she came back out of fear, but was it ever going to last? No. And that's what happens in a lot of the relationships that I coach too with a lot of people. I'm like, I'm watching it happen in real time. It's not because we're in alignment with exactly what we want from each other. It's that we're scared to lose each other. And it's validating when somebody else tells us that we're worthy. But when you keep getting run around by that, what happens? You will constantly chase people that are inconsistent or, not about you. But the truth of the matter is you just have an underlying belief that you're not enough. Or you have a belief that you have fear of being abandoned. So instead of operating from this place of confidence that you're going to find what it is that you're looking for, you're spending all this time going in the absolute wrong direction. Spending time thinking about people that are not giving you that validation. But again, it's because you can't validate yourself. If you could validate yourself, you would lean into alignment with what is really true and real for you. And that's what I'm learning about myself. Right? So it's like if I validate Chris, and if I'm going to take steps to get to that ultimate level of Chris, what does Chris need to do? He needs to have this hard conversation. Hey, I think you're a great person, but for the aspect of wanting a real relationship, I'm not there. I don't want that with you. I enjoy the companionship, which is true. And I was like, I enjoy the intimacy, which is true, but that's what this is for me. And I just got to be upfront and honest and very clear with you so you can make a good decision for yourself. And that's, to me, is emotional maturity and intelligence, is when you start to recognize what you feel and you're able to communicate that very succinctly and clearly and directly. And then the second part is right, being, again, really clear with myself. What do I really want? I really want to be a creator. Okay. So why am I spending so much time coaching? And yes, maybe that's great because it's going to bring me money, but what's the longevity of that if I'm not doing it the way that I want to do it? So I guess that's what's really happening for me right now is I'm refining and understanding what it is that I deeply want and taking steps to lean into that most vulnerable, honest version of myself. Because what is real and true for you underneath, that is what's going to last in your life. Think about this. I'll take it this way. Let's say you're a teacher, but you want to be an astronaut. Very random, I know. What do you think would happen if you started to take steps towards becoming an astronaut and then eventually becoming one? You don't think that you're going to find fulfillment? That's what it is. Fulfillment is when what you truly want underneath, honestly and vulnerably, is reflected in the life that you have outside. Because to me, it's the only thing that truly lasts. For instance, true love, right? When I meet the type of person in my life that I look at and say, wow, you have all the things that I value, and Yeah, I know that I love you and I know that I'm selecting you because I want you. That's it. And you as a person, not you for your companionship, not from this fear that I'm going to be alone, not from this fear that I'm going to be abandoned by you, not from this fear that I'm going to be rejected by you. I'm just showing up intentional because I love you. That's it. That is when I'm going to find true love, right? Here's the other thing too, though. The other person on the other side needs to do it in that way for me too, right? If that person is only here because of for them, right? For instance, they're afraid of getting abandoned, whatever it is. It's not going to be genuine, right? Because you don't want to cajole me into being with you. And the truth is this, right? Like, this is how I'm going to date from this point forward. I mean, I have to, or I mean, I'm wasting my own time. But the truth is again, is like, I'm going to evaluate and date and show up as my honest, vulnerable self. If I feel like I'm in alignment with you, I'm going to keep going. But if they turn around and they tell me that they're not in alignment with me, or they're inconsistent with me, or they reject me, I'm not going to fight them on it. I'm not going to be like, whoa, you need to be with me because I love you. Now, I might be intentional in saying that to them at some point for sure. But once I've communicated that and you're turning around and you tell me that you don't want that with me, you're not my person, right? Because true love is when you show up that way and I show up that way together. You need both. You cannot have one without the other. And more than likely, if you feel like you're in love with somebody that is rejecting you and you can't stop going back to that person, to be honest, it's probably not love. That's actually just attachment. It's just attachment. You've created them as the object that makes you happy, but that's not what love is. Love is openness. It's understanding that the other person also has a choice in how they view you. So if you genuinely love that person, you would want them to be happy and you would allow them to make that choice. But instead, most people do what? Hit them up another 1,000 times. Crawl back, keep going. But you don't realize, you think that you're doing the right thing. Oh, I just love them. I just love them. A lot of the times, in a weird way, you're almost telling them that you need them to turn around and tell you that they love you because you can't give that to yourself. That's the truth. You're unable to truly validate you. Now, again, I don't think there's anything wrong with coming from a place of confidence and strength and being like, hey, I really care about you a lot. I understand that you don't maybe want to do this, but I just want to let you know that I do care about you and I do want a relationship with you. That is cool. But again, once they turn around and tell you that you're not it, why are we trying to convince? What more is there for you to do? Because again, to me, then you're actually attached. Because to me, what it is your validation is them turning around and telling you that. Because like I said, pure love, true love would be, okay, I love you. You're telling me that you don't see me in the same way, and I respect the way that you feel. I respect the way that you see things. And it hurts. It doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. That's not what this is. It hurts like fuck when somebody does that, right? That sucks. But you understand that you are responsible for that. It's not them. They are not responsible to make you feel better. They are not responsible for the things that they said to you or that they did or blah, blah, blah. I hear this all the time from coaches, but they told me this, they did this, they showed me this, That's your work. That's your work. Your feelings are your responsibility. If they have told you the truth, they don't owe you anything else. The rest is on you. If you don't have the self-validation and self-worth to be able to look at that and be able to say, okay, I need to get loved in the way that I want to be loved, it's your own worthiness. It's not them. They're not assholes. You see what I'm saying? And so, I know I mentioned me being a little narcissistic in a way, but I don't feel like I'm a full narcissist because the thing is, I haven't really lied. I've been pretty honest about the way that I felt about things. The narcissistic end of things is really more about, I think in a lot of ways, I have, again, wanted other people's validation, such as when I meet a girl, it's more about them liking me and me not knowing whether or not I want to be with them. And again, it's almost just like I'm looking for so much from them and what they're giving me, but I don't necessarily have sight over what I'm giving them. And again, it's not coming from a place of genuineness, right? Because if I was genuinely not in love with them, I should communicate that. And again, it's because I wasn't necessarily in touch with that. I didn't understand that about myself, right? And that's what an avoidant person really does, is they date somebody. And the thing is, you're like acting as if you're so in. And the only reason that you're doing that is because you want that other person to be in. So you create this facade that you're so full in. And the thing is, I will say this, they're not doing it consciously. So slow your fucking roll before you're like, well, they manipulated me. Maybe in a way, like a little bit, but unconsciously manipulated you. So did they really do it? I mean, you can get mad at them. Go ahead, right? Like I'm sure the girl listening to this right now, she could be pissed at me. But this is what I told her. I was like, I didn't know what I didn't know. What the fuck am I supposed to do? I didn't realize my unconscious behaviors. But back to the avoidant thing. They, like I said, it's like they act like they're in. This is where you get the whole love bombing thing. They care about you so much, blah, 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 blah. But in the back of their mind, like I said, they do the plant the seeds thing. They plant these seeds about how maybe you're not enough and they don't really know. So they date you. They, you get on the hook. Now they feel responsible for your feelings towards them. They can feel how attached you are. It gets overwhelming because of these seeds that they planted. They don't know if they can go full in with you. And so they run away. And then, like I said, then they do the hot and cold thing. Because really what the relationship was about is not coming from a genuine place where like, oh my God, I love this person. It's coming from a place of, wow, I need this person to love me because I'm scared shitless of not being lovable. It's fucked. It's fucked. But again, a lot of people don't recognize that. And again, the anxious on the other side, you also don't feel lovable. So don't fucking point fingers like they're the problem. You're both the problem. Look at each other and point the guns at your own head. Because the truth is you're the common denominator in all of your relationships. It is not about them. I swear to God, anybody I coach, this is all, but they did, they. It's not they. I'm telling you, it's not they. You think it's they. It's not they. It's not they. It's your own fear that keeps you trapped. It's your own lack of self-validation that keeps you trapped. And again, whether you're on the anxious side or the avoidant side, it doesn't really matter. The truth is you got to get reconnected with yourself and start being really vulnerable and honest with people, right? Let's say you're anxious and you want a relationship. You got to communicate that. And you got to be able to walk away if you don't get that. For an avoidant person, if you know that that person's not your person, don't string them along, right? Don't allow it to go down that rabbit hole. Trust yourself that you are lovable and that you can actually be in love, but you got to stop planting seeds. And you got to learn to just be more vulnerable in the sense of understanding how you feel when you're getting close and attached to somebody and not being afraid of it. Also, grounding yourself is huge. So one thing I'm also learning as an avoidant person as well is you really struggle in those moments where it does become overwhelming, but you don't recognize it as your own fear. You almost kind of look at, again, the other person, right? Everything is based on external validation. If it's getting too close, instead of sitting there and grounding yourself within yourself and saying, where is this coming from? What am I feeling right now? Oh, I'm feeling a fear that, I don't know, maybe I'm not enough. Or maybe I'm feeling a fear that, yeah, maybe this person doesn't, I don't know, care about me that much. And I'm a little afraid right now. Again, most people, like what you have a tendency to do is just run away before you could even understand the way that you feel. And then what's hard is they run away. As an avoidant person, you emotionally calm down after being overwhelmed, and then you realize that maybe you didn't really want to leave that person. Maybe you kind of just got up and ran because you were in a state of reaction, right? And those are the things, again, we got to like work on, I guess. But yeah, back to the external validation thing. I guess this is the other tricky part. And the reason I say it's external validation, but where does external validation come from? It comes from the lack that we feel within ourselves, right? So we all have these attachments to things that we feel like we need in order to make us happy. Instead of just being genuinely happy and whole and loving within ourselves, we create these conditions that we think are going to make us happy. So for instance, right? Like for me, my big attachment is becoming the internet personality, right? It's like, oh my God, if I don't have good views today, then, my whole life is fucked. But where did I create that condition on that giving me my value? Why hasn't it come from me? And the problem with that is this, right? Is because I have that condition of that making me happy, what do I then do? I crave that validation. And instead of showing up genuine online, right, and vulnerable online, what do? Because I fear losing it, because I fear it not working out, because my value is so tied to it, I then show up in that way, scared, right, reaching for validation, clinging, right, making videos that are forced because I just need the views in order to feel good about myself. I'm going in opposite direction of what I genuinely want, which just is to really just be me. And it's to be my authentic self. And we build a lot of bullshit in front of our goals. We build a lot of bullshit in front of the things that we genuinely want in our life. Like I said, it could be a person. A person could be an attachment. So for a lot of anxious people, right, that person is just a burden and built in by you that you created in your head as, if they love me back in return, then I know I'm lovable. But it's blocking you from getting to your real goal, which is finding somebody that's genuinely going to commit to you. And that's what I'm trying to say. These other priorities start to come in front of the thing that you genuinely want. And it's because you've put in your value outside of yourself. If you bring your value inwards and your motivation comes from inside you, then guess what? All the things in your life are going to be genuine and authentic. You'll be going in the right direction, right? Like I said, if an anxious person turned around and was like, no, I value me. I value being in a relationship. I want to feel safe. I want to feel good. If you had that confidence that you know that you can receive that, you wouldn't allow yourself to be blocked by things that are not for you. And it's the same thing for me in my life, like I said, at large, is once I cut out the external motivation, once I stop putting my value into it, yeah, I want it, right? Yeah, intentionally I care about it. That part is not wrong. The part of me having the intention of being a big creator is not a problem, right? It's because it's what I want. But the truth is if it's truly what I wanted, I would do it out of love. I wouldn't do it for necessarily the numbers. But the truth is I'm not doing it from a place of love. I'm doing it from a place of fear. And that's actually not really authentic. And that's what I'm trying to say about relationships too in my life. If I'm operating from that place where I just need you to be around because I'm scared of being alone, or I'm scared of being abandoned, or I don't really value myself and I need you here because I'm feeling like shit. We like to think that position is so powerful, or that like you're manipulating somebody and you're getting one over on them and you're using them and it's great. The reality is you're going backwards too. I'm not getting anywhere I want to go if I'm hanging out with a girl that I know is not it for me. I'm wasting my own time. And that's what you need to realize. It's like, it's not even about the manipulation. You're really not getting that much. You're digging your own grave in a way, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And that's what I'm realizing about life in general, right? It's like, if you put these other things, if you let that fear drive you, right? And you don't take the risks on the things that you know that you genuinely want, I mean, you're going to be stuck in a life that you don't really love. You're going to be stuck in a relationship that you don't really love. And I guess that's what it's about. It's about finding out what it is that you know that you truly love underneath and starting to admit that with confidence instead of from a place of fear. So I guess for me right now, I don't know. I feel like the way that I'm going to approach my whole life is just going to change. It's like, and this is the changes I'm going to be making. I'm reducing my coaching hours. I'm taking away Saturday. I used to send these updates on Sunday. I'm not doing that anymore. I need to make room for the things that are important to me. To be honest, I probably will raise my price. And the reason for that is to protect my own energy and also to provide a better service. Because I know what I have and I know what I value, and also I know that I'm good. And again, it conserves me more time and it gets me more people that are truly ready to invest in themselves and make a change in their life. Because again, me pouring myself so thin into places that I don't even want to be is just draining me. It's just draining me. And I'm sure you could look at your own life and look at all the places in which You are just doing shit out of fear, out of what somebody else thinks that you should do, or you feeling responsible for somebody else, or you craving some sort of validation from something. You know, one of the things that I've been working on too is like, I've been really blocked and triggered with my creation because I have this fear that I'm not cool. And what I discovered is that I have this definition of cool, and I am the one who's saying to myself that I'm not reaching that. When I defined what cool was, I said it was somebody that's attractive and somebody that can be themselves without trying so hard and gets a lot of attention, and, you know, a lot of people yearn for that person. And it's funny how controlling that shit is towards me. Because I don't feel that I am that, what I try to do is then imitate that. And what happens? I come off as a tryhard. I come off as somebody that is yearning for that validation because I've defined it as that. I defined cool as that. And I'm telling myself I'm not that. So what ends up happening is I start to try to imitate that instead of just being me. And that's why I said this, your own fear, your own rules, your own beliefs in your own mind keep you in a goddamn prison. They do. And like I said, what I've realized is like, when I wrote all that out, I was like, damn, I'm trying really hard to be myself, which I don't need to do. I need to just be me, which is crazy. And I do yearn for this validation. Or, you know, here's the other thing too about the attraction thing. I wrote down, I was like, yeah, sometimes I don't feel like I'm attractive. You know, I feel insecure or some shit. But what ends up happening? I get cluttered in by those beliefs about myself. And that's what happens when I do this deeper work within myself. I recognize, yeah, when my hair doesn't look a certain way, then I don't post videos. How much do I limit myself in my life because of the fear that I have around these things? Right? If I don't feel like I'm fully attractive, every single time that I'm not attractive, I won't be able to post a video. That's not me being vulnerable. If I'm so concerned with trying to be myself so hard, the problem is I'm not being myself because I'm just allowing life and just being present and being in the moment. And if I need that validation because that's what I define as cool, what am I going to do? I'm going to seek validation instead of just letting myself be myself, imperfect, however the fuck I am. And that's why I said a lot of things have really shifted in my mind where I'm like, fuck. I gotta show up imperfect. I just gotta be me. I gotta stop. What's crazy is like, I gotta stop trying. I gotta stop trying to do that. And now, do I have to prioritize like the things that I want, like to entertain? Yeah, I do. And I gotta start doing the things that make me feel like I'm alive or that I truly, genuinely love because I've gotten so far away from it. It's like I don't even have fun anymore. And that's what's crazy is when I look back at my life right now, it's like, yo, like I haven't really like dedicated myself to quote unquote fun and joy. I've sapped all the joy out of my life in this pursuit of this thing that I think is going to make me happy when in reality, me getting that validation from people doesn't even make me happy because it's not truly who I am. There's no payoff. You see what I'm saying? Like even when you're trying to convince somebody to love you, what's the payoff? If you have to fucking convince somebody that rejected you to care about you, is it ever going to feel genuine? You know what I'm saying? Again, we're running up a hill that leads to nowhere, that leads to unhappiness. I have myself in a prison, you know, in my own self. It's crazy. I've created all these habits. I've created all these routines. The truth is I got to get back to fun. I got to get back to what really makes me feel alive. And the truth is like what makes me feel alive is not necessarily being a coach. It's being a light for people, you know, being able to post videos that inspire people or educate people. I do want to do that, but I don't want to do it from a place where I'm telling you what to do or how to live your life. That's not it. I've gotten away from that. And honestly, it's just about me being my true self, but I can't be my true self if I'm seeking validation and I'm so afraid of not being attractive. And I'm so afraid of, again, like, I don't know who I really am. Really, that's really what it comes down to. I am scared to admit who I really am. And this wraps all in with the self-trust we're talking about before. Because I don't have that self-trust about who I am, I'm questioning everything and I'm coming off inauthentic. It's the complete opposite of what I really want in my life, which is insane. You know, your fears create this reality for you that you don't want to live in. And very quickly you could end up in my position where you're, again, my life, don't get me wrong. It's not like I've been like not joyous and I haven't been authentic. I have. My whole point is about refining that. Like as I get older and I get more in tune and I get more in touch and I do this investment into myself, God, like, thank God, like that I took this leap, because it really shines a light on all the parts of you that you're not being honest with yourself about. And that's what I'm saying. Fuck, honestly, I want to say, fuck it all. I don't care anymore. This is who I am. I'm imperfect. Have I shown up a little narcissistic? Yeah. Have I craved external validation a lot to this point? Yeah. Do I want to change that? Yeah, I do. What do I need to do in order to change that? I need to know what it is that I value. I need to speak the fuck up. I need to end relationships that I know are not for me. I need to come with an open mind in relationships, right? Not create all these reasons as to why it can't work out. I got to show up way more vulnerable. And I got to be way more in touch with what really inspires me, because that's the only thing that's ever going to last. And for me, that's being a creator. I wrote down today, you know, something that I wrote down was like, what do I love? What do I love? Make it simple. I wrote down, you know, I love making entertaining videos. I love spending time with friends. I don't even know. I wrote cats. You know, I love flirting. I love, good deep conversation. I love house music. You know, these are the things that I got to be filling my time with. And again, the right people and the right things are going to find me. Because again, like I said, me trying to put on a charade or craving something out of fear, your triggers tell you a lot about yourself. That's what I'm realizing, right? Anytime you're triggered and you're like demotivated, there's an insecurity there about yourself that you need to examine. It's not about what's happening external to you. It's all internal work. But what I feel like is happening now is I'm recognizing these things about myself. And now what do I need to do is go in opposition of those fears. So the next step for me is what? Like I said, do things that are risky. Hey, have a conversation with this girl and tell her the fucking truth, no matter how hard it's going to hurt her. Maybe take a video of me with my friends, which I never really do. Show me in situations that I've never shown myself before. Hey, if my hair's not looking good that day, can I still post the video? This is what's going to expand me into the person that I really want to be. And maybe I could reduce my coaching hours, raise my price because I know I'm worth it, and not let somebody else dictate that value. And have that self-security that the right people are going to find me and the right people will invest. And I don't need 1,000 people because that's draining. I need 5. I need 5 great people. And what's crazy is then I could focus on the other things that I love, making podcasts, talking to my friends, doing whatever the fuck I want to do. And I know I'm going to get there. I know it's going to take some time, but you know, it's definitely been a very eye-opening week. And yeah, I don't know. I think I'm just ready to just be who I genuinely am. And like, even on this podcast, I feel like you're probably going to hear my energy change. Like, when I answer these questions, I'm not coming to it as your fucking dad, your coach. I'm just coming to it as your friend. This is how I feel. This is the things I educate myself on. And hopefully you feel that. And if you don't, guess what? Suck my dick. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. Turn the goddamn podcast off. You know, it is what it is. That's where I need to get to. I need to post a video and be like, eat my nuts. You don't want it, or you don't watch it. Don't watch it. Hey, girl, this is what I like. You know what I'm saying? This is who I am. Oh, you like it? Then let's keep it rolling. Oh, well, I feel something inside where I don't like this. Okay, communicate that. Boom. I'm going to make my life very simple. And it's going to be this. Stop the rigidness. I don't need to go to the gym 6 days a week and eat everything. You know what I'm saying? Spaced out perfectly. What I need to do is feel. I need to feel what I want to do and do what I feel like doing. It sounds simple, but it is difficult because again, that fear is going to come up. It has. Even for me yesterday, I went to go try to make a video knowing these things. Fear got me. Started comparing myself again. Boom, boom, boom. Next thing you know, couldn't even record the podcast. It will get you. But these are the triggers I need to work on, right? The more I expose myself, the more I desensitize myself, the more I live in alignment with what I want, the happier I will be, right? Imagine, right? So I always tell you guys, what are the two things that I want? I want to be an internet personality, right? And I want a beautiful relationship. How amazing do you feel like my life will be once I show up every day and I wake up and all I got to do is make a video or make a podcast with my best friend? And then, maybe I have 1 day of coaching, 2 days of coaching, but it's not fully me, right? Because what's really fully me and fills up my cup genuinely, if I'm being honest, is being that entertainer. And then imagine if I wake up and again, I choose myself. I communicate with all the girls that I date between now and my wife. And I say, hey, this, you're great, but maybe you're not for me. That's okay. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Next thing I find a girl where I'm like, no, this girl is it. Everything that I want, I feel it. And hopefully she chooses me in return. And if she doesn't, peace out. See you later, bitch. I will find somebody else that I love. And at some point I will find someone that genuinely looks at me the same way and everything will be in alignment and I'll be fulfilled. And then it will last, right? That's a marriage that actually lasts years and years and years and years and years. Because it's not based on validation. It's not based on, your fear, my fear. It's based on what do I genuinely want? And it's you. And then you're turning around and be like, what I genuinely want is you. That's the only way it lasts. And the same thing with my career, right? Like, I know what I want to do, so go do it, right? Stop putting all this stuff in front of it. All right, do I have time for some questions? I know I was going off on a tangent. All right, let me answer one or two. Yeah, I just want to do random shit now. I don't give a fuck about y'all anymore. That's not true. I care. I really do care. But what I'm trying to say is like, I really got to not give a fuck. Like, this is me right here. I'm not going to take my dick out because that's weird. All right. Which one do I like more, man? You know what? I'm feeling the cookie question. We're already on this vibe where it's like kind of chill. This person said, hi, Chris. Do you already have a podcast on when to give up the cookie in dating? If the guy is doing everything right, how long would an emotionally invested guy actually wait for it? If not, I'd really appreciate your guidance on this topic. Okay, so pause, right? From everything that we're talking about right now, I want you guys to almost think about what I'm going to reflect back and ask this person or tell this person about this. What were we really focused on in this question, right? The other person, were we not? Right? When she asking, when do you give up the cookie, right? If the guy is doing everything right, how long would an emotionally invested guy actually wait for it? So again, what we're doing is the second question I don't love, right? Is like emotional investment. I think that anybody could really be emotionally invested if you were the right person. I don't think it's necessarily based on the amount of time, but what I think this is really more based on is when do you feel comfortable giving up the cookie? Because that's what really matters. And if we're just using giving up the cookie as a mechanism to get somebody to stay, we've lost the plot of it. You see what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, it should be about what you also value. And I understand that maybe we want to lead with more of our, personality and not get into that physical stuff really fast. But again, that might not be you. For every single person, it's different. I have clients that I know for a fact on the third or fourth date, if they feel comfortable, that they'll do it. But because they're doing it because they actually value it, it's not a problem. That's not going to make a guy run away if you're the right guy for you. There isn't a set amount of time that it takes for somebody to like you or not like you. Now, here's the thing. If you sleep with somebody early in the process, do you have more of a likelihood to get attached to somebody and maybe they don't actually fully like you? 1000%. I actually believe that the longer that you wait, you will filter out a lot more people that maybe don't have that pure alignment with you. Because then again, you are leading with, to me, is the friendship. You're leading to me with things that are beyond the physical. Because again, like think about what I just said about being an avoidant before. A lot of the times Most people are very disconnected from themselves. They're rushing you into the relationship thinking that they know what they want, but nobody does. Everybody acts like they're in love with you when in reality, they have no fucking clue. But if you are mature enough to understand that risk, then sleep with somebody early and just say, okay, whatever happens, happens. If they don't call me back after, this isn't controlling that. But if you're somebody that likes to wait and wants to wait, then wait, right? To me, this is more about you and it's less about the guys that you're dating, right? You're saying if the guy is doing everything right. Yeah, I understand. Maybe if somebody, I guess what you're saying is if they're making me feel safe, yes, then I think that's a good boundary. I think that's a great boundary to have. That's like my default when it comes to sex for people is like the boundary to me should be when you feel safe in the relationship, you should go ahead and do what you got to do. Have fun. It is what it is. But for instance, what makes you feel safe versus the next person is very different. For one person, it might be, hey, I need pure exclusivity before I do that. Or, I need marriage. I have a client that's like, yes, I need marriage. Go get it then. But you got to enforce that value yourself, truly. So, and again, the right guy for you is in alignment with what you value. So if you're waiting till marriage, for instance, and somebody does not want to do that, that is not the right guy for you. But again, what do? We don't internally validate our values. We put it on, oh, well, if this guy likes me in return, this super hot guy, then I know that I'm worthy. So what happens? We fucking bow down on our boundaries. And then we get into a relationship that is what? Based on the fear of losing them or not feeling good enough, rather than doing it from a place of what we know is true and real and honest to us. That's why I said very quickly, your ego can get in the way of what you truly want. And that's what's crazy is you think it's about them fucking you over, but in reality, you're fucking yourself over. You're fucking yourself over if you're not enforcing the values that you know that you care about. So like I said, I don't even want to tell you an answer about a certain amount of time because it doesn't matter. What really matters is that you're living in alignment with your values. That's it. And you show up as that. And that's the thing too, is I find that the people that can do that and have that self-security, they're way more successful in dating. You're not going to cling on to somebody that's not investing in you if you have self-security. That's true. And you won't run away from great things as well if you also have self-security. That's why a secure person, when they deal with an avoidant, if they run away, they run away. Okay, they're not my person. Yeah, it's hard for me to understand that. It's hard for me to feel that. It's not like rejection goes away, right? There's hardship to what I'm describing in this podcast. And what I mean by that is this, right? I want to be an entertainer, right? For me to slow down the coaching and lean more into me being funny or smoking weed on my story or fucking posting wherever the fuck I want, it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be uncomfortable because people haven't seen that full side yet. And there might be people that are going to reject me for that. There might be a period of time where I show up as an entertainer and I'm not that fucking funny to you. You see what I'm saying? It's like there is a period of time where when you start to lean into the things that you truly value, there's going to be a period of time and hardship and uncomfortability to get there. Take my relationship, for example, right? If I tell her, this girl that I've been talking to, that I don't want to be with her because I know I want something different, where's the hardship? The hardship is I've lost my quote unquote safety net. I don't have a person that I was talking to every day anymore. I have to, face my fear of being alone, face my fear of not being enough, face my fear of not being deserving for what it is that I want. That's scary territory, right? Because now I have to go date other people and be alone. Right? Isn't it so much easier to run back to what is comfortable and what is safe? There is hardship in that. There's uncomfortability in that. Like I said, it's very uncomfortable to do the right thing for yourself. It is. But that's what I'm saying. To me, that's where the gold lies. That's where the true fulfillment lies, is you being honest with yourself about those motivations and communicating that. All right. I'm going to save the next one for next time. I feel like that's good enough. Right? Hey, look at that. Me not being perfect. I don't give a fuck anymore. I do care. I care about you guys a lot. And yeah, I guess if you ever want to work with me, you know where to find me. I'm not your coach. I'm your guide, I guess, your mentor. And yeah, I could help you get the things that you genuinely want in your life. So I'm going to leave it at that. All right. Talk to you guys soon.